Hi, everybody. Alina Zweidler-McKay with, ZM Coach, where we're all about helping you take your career to the next level, whether that's moving up in your current organization, making the most of a recent promotion, or getting promoted somewhere else. So today I want to talk to you about setting your own standards. I'm sure you have seen by now the headline that Marie Kondo has kind of given up on tidying up now that she has 3 children. And while I'm sure there are a lot of people who are reading that with some sense of relief, my guess is that there are also people out there who have been trying desperately to live up to the standard that Marie Kondo and others like her have set, who are now saying, like, why did nobody tell me? And are feeling frustrated that this person who had all this great advice and all these great suggestions and kind of set a standard for what a tidy home could look like, may have caused, in your reading of it, some challenge or some feeling that you're not good enough because you weren't living up to the standard that you saw that was created by, her or by anybody else. And it took me back to an experience I had in my own career. Early on, I was working for a consulting company, and I knew from my own well-being and sort of mental health at the time that working full-time was not the right fit for me. We were trying really hard to have a baby, and it wasn't going well, and I was having a lot of doctor's appointments, and just felt like I needed the time and space to take care of myself so that we could make this other part of our lives happen. And so I went to the partners of my consulting firm and I asked if I could work part-time and still be on the track to become a partner. And the managing partner at the time said, well, the problem is that being a partner takes everything you've got. And I don't know how we would define half of everything you've got. So we really can't have somebody be on the partner track if they're going to be working part-time. And then, 20 years later, I got the news that she has now decided to step down from managing partner. And then a few years after that she decided to go part-time, and she is now a part-time principal in the firm. And it makes perfect sense to me. Of course, that is the right move when you're trying to step off of the fast track and ease your way into retirement. Working part-time, I think, can be a really great strategy, and it's exactly what I would have advised her to do. But the irony of it was not lost on me, that here, she had been the one who sort of closed the door for me to ever be a partner in that firm unless I was willing to work the 60 hours a week that it would take. And now she was defining her own way of working part-time. And all of this brings me to, like, the moral of the story, which is that no matter where you are in your career and in your life, no matter what's going on for you, you cannot let anyone else's definition of success or standards for what counts as success define you. You can wear yourself out really trying to live up to the expectations that other people have and the definitions of success that other people have, whether that's about how many hours you should work or how quickly you should get promoted or what kind of job you should have or what counts as a good job or not a good job. Everybody around you is likely to have opinions about that and their own standards that they're trying to live up to, or what your house should look like or what your clothes should look like or how much makeup you should wear, any of that. And the thing is, when you're trying to live up to other people's standards, you're just going to be on this constant hamster wheel because everyone's going to have different standards, and they're all going to be related to their circumstances, and they may or may not be related to your circumstances. And so I think one of the biggest power moves that you can make in your career is to define success and create your own standards of what counts as success for yourself, letting go of what everyone else might define that to be. I did have some success with that. So after I left that firm, went out on my own and started taking contract work where I was consulting to other firms and being brought into big projects and doing work that I absolutely loved, helping teams work together more effectively and leading them through change and that kind of stuff. It was really fun. But I had 2 standards for myself. My son was young and I wanted to be home with him at least some of the time. And so my standards were, I work part-time and I don't travel. Now, again, in consulting, these things are not common. Usually consultants work 50, 60 hours a week and they're on the road all the time. And so for me to really put a stake in the ground and say, I will work for you, but these are my standards. This is what it's going to take, was an act of courage. And I will say it took some doing. So, there were times when I had to choose not to be at an important meeting because it was being scheduled after the hour at which I would leave to go get my son. And I had to learn how to say things like, I'm sorry, I have another commitment, and hold that boundary for myself in addition to holding it with the client. And, oftentimes people would be willing to move when I really said I couldn't make it. And it was really none of their business why I couldn't make it. Some of them knew, some of them didn't. It didn't matter. But it was really up to me to hold that standard for myself. You can't set a standard like that and then expect other people to just remember it and kind of work around you. You have to have the presence to be able to hold strong with it and to know what it means to you and to make the choices and the trade offs that it's going to require. There was one project in particular that was kind of challenging. It was an international project, and we were planning a retreat, and the retreat was going to take place overseas where the project was being built. So I was working with the planning team, and then there was a construction team that was going to get started, and there was a retreat that was being held overseas. And I was very adamant and clear that I was not going to travel to lead that retreat in that site. So we had to get creative. I had to find a colleague that I trusted and bring her in and kind of job share with her to get her to be familiar with the team and familiar with what it would take to work with this group and get her ready to facilitate it. We planned it all together. And then she went off and she got to facilitate the retreat and be with the client and get the billings that would go along with doing that work, in that location, and do the travel and all that. And that was a real trade-off. Like, that meant then that she was then part of the project, and we ended up kind of sharing the work going forward. Um, and that meant some fewer hours for me, but I was really clear that that was just not a line I was willing to cross. I was not willing to travel for that particular client. And I had built enough of a reputation, and I was able to stay helpful enough to them that they continued to work with me even after they brought this other consultant in. So, having a really clear set of boundaries, and then really being able to communicate them and work with them in a way that doesn't, create long-term problems or bad feelings or resentment, I think is a real skill. And when you've got that skill, when you know what matters to you and you know how to hold those boundaries with other people, and you know how to then make that kind of a win-win for everybody, that's when you can have exactly the career that you want to have. And that's the kind of thing that I help my clients learn how to do. So how to decide what success looks like for them, how to decide what the boundaries and standards are going to be that they're going to live by, and then how to really communicate and work with people around them to make sure that they get to uphold those standards. If this sounds like something that you could use in your life, a chance to create your own structure for yourself, your own boundaries, work in a way that's going to work better for you and for the broader goals that you have for your life, we'd be happy to talk with you more about what that could look like. You can book a call with us at zmcoach.com/apply. You'll get on the phone for about 45 minutes with one of my colleagues, and we'll talk to you about where you are now in your career, where you want to go, what some of those standards might be, where you're maybe making yourself a little crazy to try to get to success. And if we can help you redefine that and create success on your own terms, we will talk with you about what that could look like. And if we're not the right fit to do that, we'll let you know that too. Either way, we would love talking with you and helping you get some clarity about your standards and what matters to you and where you want to go next in your career. Again, that link to book a call is zmcoach.com/apply. We look forward to talking to you. Take care.